Dystopia warning, obviously. I'm sure you can guess what my video was supposed to be about today. Yeah, thick, self-serving bigot joins thick, self-serving, bigoted party. And whilst I think there are very urgent questions to be asked about whether or not he, orchestrated his suspension, whether or not Reform paid him to join them, not least because he was recorded in October saying that Reform would pay him to defect a lot of money, apparently. He was reported as saying in January that Richard Tice is a pound shop for Farage. So what's changed? He needs to be investigated. He needs to get his bank statements out for the lads. And he needs me to roast him, which I will do tomorrow, because I hate nothing more than a working class Tory, voter or MP. But there's a bigger scandal afoot, yeah, involving a £10 million Conservative donor and his overt racism and misogyny. Quite interesting for the Conservative Party, really. They constantly say to Labour, oh, you can't define what a woman is. When the Conservative Party seem to have a lot of trouble defining what a racist is. This is Frank Hester, a computer programmer and the founder of the Phoenix Partnership. He's donated over £10 million to the Conservative Party. And he's also, coincidentally, been awarded over £400 million worth of government contracts, NHS and prison contracts. His company is worth over £1 billion. He's also gifted Sunak the use of a helicopter for a political visit worth over 15 grand. His company has access to the nation's medical records. And he also said, looking at Diane Abbott, and I quote, makes you want to hate all black women. And he also called for her to be shot. The Guardian reports that these comments were made in 2019, and despite Hester apologising for them, referring to them as rude and saying that they weren't about her gender or skin colour, the Tory line is, oh, they're unproven because there's no recording of it. Once again, I wonder what's motivating that response from the government. You see, the position that this puts everybody else in is that we just have to argue for what is basic objective reality, that those comments were monstrous, misogynistic and racist, despite government officials trying to gaslight the public by referring to them as unacceptable, but not saying why. Just like they said Lee Anderson's Islamophobic comments about Sadiq Khan being controlled by Islamists were wrong, but not saying why. I'll say why, because they're racist. And do you want to know one of the most offensive things about the government's conduct on this, and about people like Lee Anderson and Tice and Farage, is that they're constantly trying to suggest that racist policy is what the working classes are thinking. That's what we want. That's what will appeal to us. How fucking dare they think that they can speak for us? Most of them went to private school and they just see us as thick caricatures. What Kelvin Mackenzie referred to as a right little fascist, the standard Sun reader. All it really shows is how out of touch they are with modern Britain and modern attitudes in their systematic attempt to regress us. Because the Tories have never been lower in the polls, and neither has their fucking conduct. Because by condoning this, they're not just debasing themselves, they're debasing the entire country that they're supposed to represent. That person should not be anywhere near public money, should not have access to the nation's healthcare records, and should not, through his donations, have power and influence over this or any government. I mean, all you've got to do is take a little look on Glassdoor to look at his reviews. Yeah. Countless comments from people. He makes comments that are inappropriate, that are sexist, insensitive and racist in nature. The rumours and reviews that mention derogatory, sexist and racist comments are also sadly very true. This place is about as diverse as a pack of digestives. This isn't a one-off. That's looking more and more like an unchecked pattern of behaviour, isn't it? And what did the Tories do on the media rounds today? Condemn it? No. It took Kemi Badenoch, the Women's and Equalities Minister, until this evening to admit it was racist. But before that, a sea of white men bending over backwards to downplay it, to defend it, and an outright refusal to call it what it is. We had Lord Marland, didn't we? Former Conservative Party donor and treasurer. This is what he had to say.
He's an international businessman. He travels widely overseas. He does a lot of business in Jamaica. He does business in Malaysia, in Bangladesh and places like that. So he's not a racist. He made some unfortunate remarks which do sound racist. And quite rightly, he's apologised for them.
He made some unfortunate remarks that do sound racist. Because they're racist! He's trying to claim that going abroad means that you're automatically immune from racism. Little Tommy 10 names. Tommy Robinson, he loves popping over to Spain. Doesn't make him squeaky clean, does it? Thought I recognised Lord Marland. I was right. They all have a story, don't they? Lord Marland's is that he invested in SCL Group and Cambridge Analytica, but claimed that he didn't know what he was investing in. Yeah, mate, it must be nice to have so much money that you don't realise that you're accidentally investing in a dark dystopian data firm that essentially operated as a psyop with, many will say, undemocratic influence over the Brexit referendum and the Trump election. He denied all association. In my opinion, I call bollocks. Then we had Mel Stride, the Work and Pensions Secretary. Who said this?
Well, it's clear that what he said was inappropriate. He has, as I understand it, apologised for those remarks. I think the critical point here is I don't think what he was saying was a gender-based or a race-based comment, but it was clearly inappropriate. He has apologised, and I think we need to move on from that.
Oh, the caucasity. A white old man standing there saying that we all just need to move on from misogyny and racism. Yeah, that'd make your life easier, wouldn't it, if we just shut up about it? Then we had Graham Stewart, the Energy Minister, in the biggest car crash interview in which he said that the comments were indefensible.
I'm not remotely tempted to try and defend it. He shouldn't have said it.
Smiled, whilst the interviewer was laying out what was said about Diane Abbott.
It's like trying not to be racist, but you see Diane Abbott on the television and you just want to hate all black women because she's there. I don't hate all black women, but I think she should be shot.
Then decided to defend it all anyway.
We can't cancel anybody from participation in public life or indeed donating to parties because they said something intemperate and wrong in their past. And it's not my decision, but I do welcome those who support the Conservative Party to ensure that we have Rishi Sunak, of course, our first Hindu Prime Minister.
You welcome.
Fuck me. Badenoch called it blatantly racist, but said that she welcomes his apology and his £10 million in donations. Sunak, completely silent on the matter. So why is there a refusal to accept it and call it what it is? As I've told you before, this is how they're going to try and win the election. This is the depth that they've sunk to now. You see, Johnson, in trying to get through the mad Brexit deal, his illegal prorogation of Parliament, he got rid of all the moderates too, so the party's just full of extremists and nutters and thickos and flagrant opportunists and racists and people that are willing to just debase every bit of integrity that they might have once had in favour of protecting the interests of donors, because that's who the Conservative Party really work for. I mean, look at his tidy little investment, 10 million in, 400 million out. Good work if you can get it, innit? He was given an OBE for services to healthcare. Whilst this government committed horrific fraud, whilst our healthcare workers worked in fucking bin bags, whilst this government partied every night, and they have the audacity to send out Boris Johnson to the Red Wall in the lead up to the election, as has been seeded today, because they just think we're thick caricatures that gobble up everything that's printed in the Sun, and that we have no memory of Partygate or the lies or the corruption or the scandals. I'd advise those people in the Red Wall to start saving up their piss now, just in case. And as for this racism, it's on every one of us, as I've said before, to prove the polling right and to not let them get away with it. This isn't who we are as a country, not who the working classes are. The poorest, most vulnerable people in this society need to stop letting posh upper classholes tell them who they are. Stop believing the bullshit. Stand up for yourself. Set fire. Vote them out.